Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the new Astonishing Ant-Man Marvel Legends 2-pack featuring Ant-Man and Stinger, which I have to tell you is halfway really good and halfway not so much. There's going to be some to like for some people and some to hate for others, so let's go ahead and get these two off the stand so we can take a closer look. I'm going to go ahead and just measure them both first. We're going to run both in the same review because it's a 2-pack, so I think that's appropriate. This one stands just about 14.5 centimeters, not counting the antennae, I'm not sure. It's about 5 3/4, and that makes Ant-Man roughly 6.5 and 16.25 centimeters. We're going to start with Ant-Man because this guy is by far the best part of the pack. It is arguably my favorite Marvel Legends figure this year. And I don't have any particular interest in Ant-Man. I mean, he's fine. I don't have anything against him. It is what it is. But this figure has a certain combination of proportions and paint and new tooling that just makes it very appealing. So I guess I should say objectively it's one of my favorite Marvel Legends if I'm basing it strictly on the merits of the figure. Subjectively, it's fine. It's just a red and black figure, but boy, the proportions are just so nice on this. Skinny waist, broader chest. Yeah, the pecs look a little narrow because of the butterfly joint, but thanks to the suit design, that's pretty well hidden. We have this nice collar piece to also give him a little extra of apparent breadth across his chest and back. It's very well proportioned, and that is such a key thing for the Marvel Legends. So many of them have really strange proportions. This one looks really good. We've got the nice legs on there with the skinnier ankles. It's just very aesthetically pleasing. The paint job on it's not perfect, but it's solid enough. The red that's painted on the arms in some places is a little glossy and not perfect. Don't get me wrong, it's not a perfect figure, but the line work is relatively clean, and there is a decent amount of line work. We do have the silver mixed in for the chest, the belt, and the knees, and that's all sculpted as well, so that's fine by me. I like that. It adds a little bit of pop to the figure. And then we have the nice head sculpt, which does look very good. Very clean. I'm very pleased with that. You know, it's just a very appealing figure. And then these are separate pieces, and they're not warped right out of the package, so that's appealing. Very well done. So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. The head is on our standard hinge with our ball peg at the top. Put that back on. And do we have lollipop syndrome? We don't. Look at that. The head sits nice on the neck. It's not sticking up too high. We still get a little bit of attitude wiggle, which is fine. Of course, we have our full swivel. And then with the ball peg and the hinge, we can pretty much move the head however we want. So that is just fine by me. For the shoulders, we have that really nice butterfly joint. Really well executed. It's great. For this part of the shoulder, you can get it all the way up on the hinge, so that's fine. We have full rotation here, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. Not the best range out of the elbows, but it'll do. It's a little bit better than 90. For the wrists, we have a swivel and a hinge, fist hand on both sides. Ab crunch goes all the way forward. There's a little bit stuck there, but all the way forward and a little bit back. We still have a little bit of that pot belly syndrome. This is, I don't think this is actually a separate piece, but I feel like they took the original torso and actually just created, added this digitally so that they could just mold a whole new upper torso with that piece, because I'm pretty sure it's painted and it is actually part of the mold, but it does look like the same torso as Bullseye for the most part, practically speaking. We do have our waist twist right there. That's fine. The belt is all solid and sculpted on as far as I can tell. And so the hips, they don't get a ton of range, but I guess that's good enough. That's better than most of the Spider-Man figures we've seen recently. Legs going forward, no problem at all. Going back, yeah, you get a little bit going back too, so that's good. Thigh swivel's fine. This is a bit of a bummer. The way the hips are actually connected on the pegs, the red line is farther in, and if you wanted that to line up, he'd be very pigeon-toed. So that's a bit of a bummer. It breaks the paint a little bit, but I guess that's not the worst thing in the world. For the double-jointed knees, no problem at all. Really good range. You do have a shin swivel if you want it, and it lines up really nicely if you don't, so that's good, but it is there. And then for the ankle, you can bring it pretty far forward, all the way back, and it's a really almost perfect ankle rocker in terms of having a swivel hinge for the ankle rocker. That's about as good as you're going to get with that type of design. So very well executed Ant-Man, great proportions. It's going to look good on the shelf. It's going to pose really nicely, and it has a really solid paint job. So all in all, A+ effort on that one. And on this one, It's basically the exact opposite. The first thing that stands out on this figure, and I'm hoping it shows up on camera, it may not, because some colors react funny with the studio lighting and then the way the image sensor, the photo sensor picks it up. But we have two very different colors of purple throughout this figure, and it is not good. The torso and the chest are different. The two parts on the legs are different. The arms are it's very, very incoherent. Not incoherent, inconsistent. Let's pick the right words and get some more sleep at night. That'd be great. It's just not great looking. On the other hand, the paintwork is clean. So the purples are wrong, but the paintwork is very clean. We even have these little details on the hands. Those are very nicely done. Let's see if we can focus on the hand instead of my thumb. See, that looks really, really good. So I like that. Like, they put a little bit of thought into this, but the execution just turned out to be a disappointment with the purples. And then there's a couple other issues too. But the head sculpt, very pleased with that. The helmet on top of the head, very clean. Again, the antennas are fine. These things are fine. Very, very nice looking head. And lollipop syndrome, barely. That's good. That's always a plus. You still get really nice range out of it. Look at that. It wiggles, rotates. We'll get to that in a second. And then we have the wings, which are translucent blue. Nicely done. We still have the holes in them there, even though we don't have anything to put there. So that's a bit of a bummer, but hardly a deal breaker. And I do really like that kind of like frosty translucent blue they did. So that's nice. Now, as far as articulation goes, the wings obviously have a hinge. This one's a little floppy. It's not terrible, though. Well, it depends where you put it, I guess. In some places, it's like out here, it's not so bad. That's pretty floppy on this side. I guess I just have bad luck. I mean, I know I do, and I guess that's the case, because this one's nice and stiff, so maybe you'll be lucky with that. And then, of course, they peg in, so they rotate. And if you want to pop them off, they come right off. No big deal. You have to actually put them on yourself, so no problems there. And again, for the head, we have our standard hinge. You can look all the way up. No problem at all. And even then, you see the lollipop syndrome's not that bad, that it doesn't look terrible, so that's good. And then, of course, you can look all the way down. You already saw lots of attitude, which is good. And then, of course, full rotation. For the shoulders, we've seen this before. The shoulders work really well, except there's no bicep swivel, so that's a bummer. You do get your bicep swivel down here at the elbow, which does give you a little bit better than 90, and your swivel there. So it's not ideal, but it'll definitely get the job done well enough. We have a swivel and a hinge for the wrists, open hand there, fist hand there. Diaphragm joint. This is the diaphragm joint that doesn't work that well. It gives you a little bit of range going back, basically none going forward, and a little bit going side to side, and of course you have your full rotation. So it's not, again, great, but it'll do. For the hips, I don't really like how far inset the hips are inside the hips. The leg hips connected to the body hips is what I'm saying. The body hips kind of stick out too far, so it looks a little bit weird. It has like a pinch right there, and while that's kind of technically there in real life, the way this works, it makes it look a little odd. Not the best range going out to the side, but it'll do. Going forward, very minimal. Going back, none really at all. Thigh swivel's okay. Double jointed knee is obviously fine. Shin swivel is obviously fine, and it does line up nicely, so that's good. Ankle hinge is really good, all the way forward, all the way back. And it's a pretty decent ankle rocker slash swivel hinge. So, you know, it's definitely got some issues with articulation, but I don't think anything that's really abhorrent. It's fine. The only real issue with this figure is the multicolored purpley pink. It is just very, very distracting, and it does take away from the figure a lot. If it wasn't for that, I'd be all in for this figure too. Granted, there are some issues, like I said, but it's still fine, and the head sculpt's great. But this guy right here, mixed with this one being decent enough, this is a must-buy if you're a Marvel Legends collector. It's a very solid 2-pack. I definitely recommend it. Very happy to have it. I think you guys will be too. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up almost every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Smash the thumbs up button, like the subscribe button, and keep collecting.